Luo Feng hosted a grand banquet at his Primal Chaos Armor 913 cave mansion and specially invited Black Butcher, an eternal true god renowned for reaching his realm through culinary arts, to personally prepare the dishes. The banquet was held to receive Yu Shui Tianyu, the daughter of the monarch of Yu country, who represented the godly king himself. The lord of Huyang City also attended the gathering. During the meal, Yu Shui Tianyu praised the unique taste of Huyang City's delicacies and stated that the food prepared at Luo Feng's residence was even better than that served at the city lord's mansion. The city lord explained that Black Butcher was the only culinary expert in Huyang City who had become an eternal true god, and his sudden inability to be invited earlier was due to her unexpected arrival. Impressed by the dishes, Yu Shui Tianyu summoned Black Butcher and personally invited him to move to the royal capital to become a chef in her residence. She revealed that she had only one chief chef before and intended to make Black Butcher her second personal chef, offering him a separate cave mansion and cultivation resources far greater than what he possessed in Huyang City. Black Butcher was shocked by such an opportunity, as the daughter of the monarch of Yu country possessed a status comparable to the high-ranking members of major clans in the Flame-Wind ancient country. Considering the growing tension between Yu Kingdom and Shi Kingdom and the dangers faced by Huyang City as a border region, he gladly accepted the invitation and thanked Luo Feng for creating the chance that changed his future. After Black Butcher departed, Yu Shui Tianyu turned to the real purpose of her visit. She explained that the monarch of Yu country had heard of Luo Feng's exceptional talent and was pleased that such a powerful eternal true god had emerged within Yu Kingdom's territory. Because Luo Feng had previously killed the followers of Shi Kingdom and contributed to Yu Kingdom's interests, the monarch sent him a special reward. Yu Shui Tianyu presented a dark purple wooden box containing a freshly matured void proliferation mother tree leaf, an extremely precious treasure that could not be purchased because all such leaves were controlled by the supreme powers of the land of origin. She explained that space contained hundreds of hidden layers, and only by completely breaking through them could one escape the cosmic cage. Among these layers was the Primal Chaos layer, a realm filled with endless chaotic power. The Primal Chaos ruins were merely a connection between the ordinary world and this deeper layer of space. Normally, cultivators would be rejected by the Primal Chaos layer, but carrying the Void Proliferation Mother Tree leaf allowed one to travel through it freely. Cultivating there would greatly increase the chance of comprehending the Primal Chaos laws, making it especially valuable for a powerful eternal true god like Luo Feng, who already had profound accumulation in many aspects. Yu Shui Tianyu then delivered an even greater offer. The monarch of Yu country wished to accept Luo Feng as his disciple. However, every disciple of the monarch had to pass 3 strict tests in the royal capital. If Luo Feng succeeded, he would receive cultivation resources far beyond the value of the void proliferation mother tree leaf. In the future, after reaching the Primal Chaos realm, the monarch could even personally refine his godly body, similar to how a powerful expert could forge an extremely superior secret treasure. Although the Lord of Huyang City repeatedly emphasized that becoming the direct disciple of the monarch of Yu country was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Luo Feng did not immediately accept. He explained that he needed to consider the matter because the relationship between master and disciple in the land of origin was more important than ordinary family ties. A master provided cultivation methods, resources, and guidance throughout one's entire path, while a disciple had to remain loyal and repay that kindness. Betraying one's master was considered a great disgrace and would be despised by all factions. After the banquet ended, Yu Shui Tianyu and the Lord of Huyang City left. Luo Feng personally escorted them out and quietly considered his future. He understood that if he became a disciple of the monarch of Yu country, he would become permanently tied to Yu Kingdom. The vice president of the Flame Wind Guild had previously warned him not to choose a side too early because his future potential could allow him to enter the Flame Wind ancient country and become an important guest elder under Emperor Chu's lineage. Compared to becoming a disciple in Yu Kingdom, that path offered far greater freedom and status. Nevertheless, Luo Feng was sincerely grateful to the monarch of Yu country because the void proliferation mother tree leaf was extremely beneficial to his current cultivation. That same night, Luo Feng left behind a divine power incarnation to manage affairs alongside Morosa and Moyu Qingyan while his true body traveled alone to the Primal Chaos ruins located inside the Lord of Huyang City's residence. The city lord personally guided him there and explained that the endless chaotic power flowing out from the primal chaos layer naturally condensed into primal chaos crystals and even transformed surrounding soil and stones into primal chaos stones after entering the ordinary world. Many void space true gods were constantly working around the ruins, cutting the crystals into standardized pieces. And all of them showed great respect upon seeing the now famous Lord Luohe. After thanking the Lord of Huyang City, Luo Feng approached the enormous distorted void passage, which looked like a waterfall of chaotic energy pouring endlessly into the world. Remembering the route back as instructed, he flew directly against the violent flow of chaotic power, entered the primal chaos ruins, and officially began his journey into the mysterious primal chaos layer to seek deeper understanding of the primal chaos laws. Luo Feng followed the path of the primal chaos ruins and traveled upstream through the layers of space to enter the mysterious primal chaos layer. In the land of origin, space was extremely stable, and even most primal chaos overlords could not enter the primal chaos layer through their own power. As he moved deeper through the spatial rift, the surroundings gradually expanded from a narrow passage into an endless, boundless world. The entire area was filled with an infinite sea of chaotic power, making Luo Feng feel like a fisherman entering the vast ocean for the first time. The leaf of the void proliferation mother tree that Luo Feng carried continuously released invisible void fluctuations, forming a protective area around him and preventing the primal chaos layer from rejecting his presence. Although the leaf would eventually wither after about one epoch, this was more than enough time for Luo Feng to cultivate. He was fascinated by the sight before him, as chaotic power constantly gave birth to various visible manifestations of the primal chaos laws. Luo Feng observed that each manifestation of the primal chaos laws was different. Some appeared as brilliant golden radiance, some were icy pale green, while others shone with silver-white light. He understood that although the appearances of the laws could transform endlessly into forms such as primal chaos gold, primal chaos fire, and primal chaos thunder, their fundamental essence remained the same. All cultivation systems, techniques, and paths eventually converged toward the primal chaos laws before progressing toward the various origin grade Daos. With this realization, Luo Feng slowly wandered through the primal chaos layer, carefully studying every manifestation to deepen his understanding. While he was immersed in cultivation, a fiery red streak suddenly shot out from the chaotic current and attacked him. Luo Feng immediately burned his divine power and effortlessly captured the attacker. He discovered it was a small crimson insect whose body resembled red crystal. Despite its tiny size, its strength was comparable to Vice President Lai Mo of the Blood Python Association. Based on the intelligence left by his master, Luo Feng knew that these were creatures naturally born within the primal chaos layer. They possessed almost no intelligence, acted purely on instinct, and survived by feeding on chaotic power. If they were unable to absorb chaotic power, they would starve, their bodies would completely collapse, and they would return to the cosmos. Most primal chaos layer creatures only possessed eternal realm strength, while those reaching the primal chaos realm were extremely rare due to their special body structures and had long ago been captured alive by the major forces of the land of origin for research and cultivation purposes. Luo Feng crushed the fiery red insect with his hand and was surprised to see that even after being broken into dozens of pieces, each fragment continued struggling and attempted to merge back together. By using his divine power to examine the fragments, he sensed traces of primal chaos laws within them. This led him to understand that these creatures were essentially physical manifestations of the primal chaos laws formed by the endless chaotic power of the primal chaos layer. At the same time in Huyang City, the eternal true gods of the five great families gathered at the city lord's mansion to see Princess Yu Shui Tianyu off. The lord of Huyang City informed her that Luo he had entered the primal chaos layer through the primal chaos ruins and still had not returned. Previously, the princess intentionally delayed her departure for a day to give Luo Feng one final opportunity to reconsider and accept the chance to become the disciple of the monarch of Yu country. However, his absence proved that he had no interest in becoming the monarch's disciple. Yu Shui Tianyu concluded that someone with Luo Feng's strength likely already possessed a powerful inheritance or was a disciple secretly nurtured by another major force. In the land of origin, it was common for cultivators to have multiple masters throughout different stages of their growth. But refusing the invitation of a monarch was still an extraordinary decision that naturally caused much speculation. After saying her farewells, Yu Shui Tianyu summoned a massive flying boat and departed for the royal capital with her followers. Among them were the Black Butcher, his 9 trusted disciples, and some family servants. Since they would be serving the princess in the future, it was necessary to bring disciples capable of preparing meals and handling daily matters. Suo Zi, one of the Black Butcher's disciples, was overwhelmed with emotion because he never imagined that a lowly true god from the lower ranks of Huyang City who learned cooking from his master would one day travel to the royal capital and serve alongside a princess. His brother Suo Yun came to bid him farewell. Although the two had previous conflicts and complicated feelings, they had grown up together in the same tribe, and both understood that this separation might be their last meeting in their lifetime. Watching the flying boat disappear through time and space, Suo Yun was filled with bitterness. He had spent his entire life struggling within the dark organization Thousand Mountain Tower, risking his life to seize every opportunity. Yet he only reached the position of a middle-level member. Meanwhile, Suo Zi had simply followed the Black Butcher to learn culinary arts and had obtained a destiny far beyond his imagination. Suo Yun could only wonder whether such differences were truly determined by fate. Back inside the primal chaos layer, Luo Feng spent many days continuously observing the countless manifestations of the primal chaos laws. During this time, many primal chaos layer creatures attacked him because of their natural aggressiveness. Luo Feng captured numerous creatures and even dissected their bodies to study them. Once he released them, their fragmented bodies rapidly regenerated and fled in fear, showing that although they lacked intelligence, their instincts still understood danger. One day, while Luo Feng was quietly comprehending the primal chaos laws, a silver streak suddenly shot out from the chaotic current like a flash of a divine blade. As before, Luo Feng burned his divine power and used a profound grasping technique to catch it. However, unlike the previous creatures, the silver being was far more powerful. The moment it was captured, it cut through Luo Feng's hand and escaped to a distance. Luo Feng looked at his injured palm in shock. His skin and muscles had been sliced open, and divine blood flowed from the wound. This was the first time a primal chaos layer creature had managed to injure his perfect divine body. Judging from the attack's power, Luo Feng estimated that the silver creature possessed strength not inferior to divine monarch Shui Yun, making it an exceptionally powerful existence among the primal chaos creatures he had encountered. Luo Feng stared at the silver-like creature floating in the distance. Although this primal chaos layer creature possessed very low intelligence and lacked Shui Yun's cunning battle strategies, its raw power was even greater than Shui Yun's. After defeating Shui Yun and creating his own primal chaos realm technique, Luo Feng's confidence had grown significantly, and he viewed this battle as another valuable opportunity to test his strength. The silver-like creature suddenly launched an attack. It transformed into a thin silver thread and moved at an unbelievable speed, extending over 10 times its original distance in an instant and sweeping past Luo Feng like a phantom. Luo Feng casually reached out and successfully caught the silver thread, but he immediately discovered that its body was unimaginably smooth and sharp. It slipped out of his grasp instantly and left a deep wound on his hand. The silver-like creature continuously attacked from all directions, constantly changing forms between silver threads, blade lights, and silver spikes. Its movements were so fast and unpredictable that even Luo Feng struggled to capture it. After several exchanges, his body was covered with multiple bloody wounds. Rather than becoming angry, Luo Feng became more interested, realizing that he needed to use a more sophisticated technique to restrain this strange creature. When the silver-like creature launched another attack, Luo Feng used a newly comprehended technique called 5 Directions Heavenly Seal. His 5 fingers expanded like giant heavenly pillars, sealing a section of space completely and forming a perfect cage with no openings. This technique was created from his understanding of the life origin, destruction origin, the primal chaos layer, and the primal chaos laws. It also incorporated the essence of the heavens split in 5 directions blade. Unlike the original blade technique that focused on destroying and splitting everything apart, 5 Directions Heavenly Seal represented the opposite concept, using the power of the 5 directions to seal heaven and earth and trap enemies. This time, the silver-like creature had no way to escape. Luo Feng's fingers wrapped around it tightly as it struggled and vibrated violently. Trying to break free, curious about the structure of such a small yet powerful creature, Luo Feng activated the Duan Mie Dharma. Burning his divine power to its highest limit, he poured all of his strength into his fingers and attempted to tear the creature apart. However, Luo Feng was shocked to discover that even with his divine power burning at maximum capacity, he was still unable to damage the silver-like creature's body. Its toughness far exceeded his expectations. He realized that if he had not recently comprehended a primal chaos realm technique, he might have been completely helpless against this creature. Furthermore, because the silver-like creature only possessed instincts and no true consciousness, Luo Feng's powerful will-secret techniques were entirely ineffective. Holding the creature firmly with one hand, Luo Feng raised a finger on his other hand and once again burned his divine power. He displayed his newly mastered primal chaos realm technique, heart honing. His finger moved through the void like a blade that could dissect the laws of the universe itself. As it passed across the body of the silver-like creature, a crack immediately appeared, and the creature was split into two. After the body was divided, its incredible toughness rapidly declined. Luo Feng seized both halves with his hands and crushed them with force, causing them to explode into 109 tiny silver droplets. Luo Feng carefully observed these droplets. Although they attempted to merge together again, each individual droplet was much weaker after separation. Using his divine power, he prevented them from combining and examined them in detail. When magnified billions of times, every droplet appeared like a perfectly spherical star with an extremely smooth surface. More importantly, both the surface and interior contained complete traces of the primal chaos law. To understand their nature, Luo Feng destroyed one silver droplet with his finger. The droplet transformed into silver mist, and the materialized primal chaos laws within it dispersed along with the mist. Through this experiment, Luo Feng discovered that each droplet contained a complete primal chaos law that fused the characteristics of primal chaos metal and primal chaos water. This explained why the creature's body was so slippery and difficult to capture. Luo Feng compared it to all the other primal chaos layer creatures he had studied before. Those creatures only contained fragments of primal chaos laws, but this silver-like creature possessed a complete primal chaos law inside every droplet, making it vastly superior. He stored the remaining 108 silver droplets inside a separate layer of the star tower. Through experimentation, Luo Feng discovered that two droplets could naturally fuse together. When 10 droplets merged, they formed a powerful silver thread. And when around 100 droplets merged, they recreated the complete silver-like creature. However, even in its complete form, its strength had not reached a true qualitative transformation. Luo Feng speculated that if a similar creature possessed 10,000 or even 1 million silver droplets, it might possess the power of a genuine primal chaos realm expert. Since records stated that primal chaos layer creatures survived by consuming chaotic power, Luo Feng placed several primal chaos crystals before the silver-like creature. As expected, the silver light immediately wrapped around the crystals and slowly devoured them. Luo Feng became even more interested in studying these creatures, as they offered a unique way to understand the mysteries of primal chaos laws. However, he felt some regret because all primal chaos layer creatures with the strength of primal chaos overlords had already been captured by godly kings and taken away as valuable treasures. Later, inside his own microcosm, beneath a massive tree whose branches covered a vast area, Luo Feng received the primordial ancestor as a guest. He personally served fruit wine that he had created by experimenting with different fruits grown inside his microcosm. The primordial ancestor praised the wine's excellent flavor and joked that he had not expected Luo Feng to possess such skill in making wine. The primordial ancestor then explained the reason for his visit. Thanks to the 9 netherworlds inheritance that Luo Feng had previously given him, combined with the clearer understanding of laws in the land of origin, he had finally broken through to become an eternal true god. Luo Feng was sincerely happy because the human race had gained another powerful protector. However, the primordial ancestor revealed that he had not yet allowed his microcosm and godly body to advance completely. Since he had secretly comprehended the source of law, only Luo Feng knew his true situation. Once his divine body fully transformed, he would no longer be able to hide his strength and would need to choose whether to join the official forces of the Flame-Wind ancient country or remain a solitary cultivator. Luo Feng advised him to enter the official ranks of the Flame-Wind ancient country. Although independent cultivators enjoyed more freedom, they also faced much greater dangers. In contrast, the ancient country possessed an unfathomably deep foundation and could provide strong protection. Luo Feng also revealed that he planned to travel to the flame-wind ancient country in the future. Although both he and Emperor Chu Yu first needed to achieve the primal chaos realm before Emperor Chu Yu could officially recruit him. Trusting Luo Feng's judgment and understanding of the land of origin, the primordial ancestor decided to follow his advice and join the official forces. Luo Feng then handed him the second half of the 9 Netherworlds inheritance, which contained many secret techniques suitable for eternal true gods. The primordial ancestor was initially concerned that Luo Feng was wasting time cultivating illusion techniques for his sake. But Luo Feng explained that he studied many different paths as preparation for entering the primal chaos realm. After receiving the inheritance, the primordial ancestor became even more aware of the enormous gap between them. Although he had only just reached the eternal true god realm, Luo Feng had already cultivated some illusion techniques to the absolute peak of that level. And his true combat strength was undoubtedly far more terrifying. After leaving Luo Feng's microcosm to complete his full breakthrough, the primordial ancestor began preparing for his future in the land of origin. During the following period, Huyang City experienced an unusual calm. The Heart Shadow sect was secretly gathering powerful members scattered throughout various regions of the land of origin to prepare for a large-scale assault on a primal chaos prefecture. They hoped that by assembling overwhelming strength, they could increase their chances of success. However, many of their experts were located extremely far away, and even with the assistance of Marquis Lu Yin, returning to the Shi Kingdom required a great amount of time. Convincing certain powerful members to participate in such a dangerous operation was also extremely difficult. Meanwhile, Luo Feng remained completely focused on cultivation. He continued studying the life origin, the destruction origin, the mysteries of the primal chaos layer, and the 3000 void calamity beast diagram. Every day, he steadily improved his understanding and strength. Without realizing it, 5 entire eras quietly passed during his secluded cultivation. Luo Feng arrived at Dream Flower Tower with his 2 servants, Morosa and Moyu Qingyan. His presence caused a sensation throughout the tower because his battle 5 eras earlier had established him as an existence invincible below the primal chaos realm after killing divine monarch Shui Yun, Yushin Shu, and Yushin Yi. The Dream Flower Tower master personally welcomed him and brought him to the Orchid Star Hall, which had become a place reserved exclusively for Luo Feng. The tower master prepared several newly composed musical pieces for him. Araya performed first, and although her illusion technique had greatly improved over more than 30 eras, reaching the pinnacle of the true god of void space level, it could no longer fully affect Luo Feng after his spiritual will reached the godly king level. Unlike the past when he could be completely immersed and moved to tears, he now simply enjoyed her performance while eating and drinking. Araya felt disappointed, knowing she had reached her limit and had little hope of becoming an eternal true god. The Dream Flower Tower master then personally performed. As an eternal true god, her illusion technique was far more profound. Luo Feng used the 7 emotions of heart refining technique to strengthen his emotions and completely immerse himself in the artistic world created by her music. The tower master had carefully composed her works according to Luo Feng's preferences. Although she once doubted whether Luo Feng truly enjoyed her illusions, especially after Shang Tianyan and Shui Yun's hidden truths were revealed, she eventually believed that his continued visits were due to his friendship with Shang Tianyan and his kindness toward Dream Flower Tower. For Luo Feng, these performances were not merely entertainment. After spending long periods studying the 3000 void calamity beast diagram, his spiritual will became exhausted. The combination of the Tower Master's illusion technique and the 7 emotions of heart refining technique allowed him to relax completely, cleanse his spirit, and restore his emotions. During the past 5 eras, Luo Feng's cultivation had advanced rapidly. He had fully mastered the entire 3000 void calamity beast diagram. But each new contemplation still brought him fresh insights. By observing the great Tao of life origin, watching Morosa demonstrate the mysteries of destruction after reaching the primal chaos realm, and capturing more than a dozen creatures containing complete primal chaos laws, including the silverlight creature, his accumulation grew tremendously. Luo Feng understood that without these rare opportunities, Even 500 eras of ordinary cultivation would not compare to the progress he had achieved in these 5 eras. However, despite believing his accumulation surpassed Shui Yun's, he still had not comprehended the primal chaos laws, realizing that the law lineage was much more difficult than the bloodline lineage. At the same time, the Heart Shadow sect arrived above Huyang City. The three-eyed leader and the 18 elders intended to make Huyang City the sect's long-term foundation. The sect had gathered many scattered members from across the land of origin and was secretly supported by 2 primal chaos overlords. Although it had declined and become divided, it had recovered nearly 40% of its former strength and was united in the goal of seizing a territory. Among the 18 elders, Elder Hearteye was the most feared. He had once been the strongest expert of the Heart Shadow sect and had wandered through the land of origin after its decline. Marquis Lu Yin had personally persuaded him to return. The other elders believed that only Elder Hearteye had the strength to confront Luo Feng directly, while they would need powerful formations to deal with him. The three-eyed leader confidently declared that no force within Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture could stop the Heart Shadow sect. Even if the Marquis of Zhujiang appeared, Marquis Lu Yin would personally handle him. Their mission was to eliminate all eternal true gods who resisted them and establish the sect's authority. Soon, the Heart Shadow sect revealed its overwhelming army. More than 1,000 enormous flying boats appeared in the sky, followed by 139 super-large legion treasures in various forms, such as giant humanoids, exotic beasts, massive plants, strange lakes, and other terrifying entities. Each legion treasure was controlled by at least 10 eternal true gods and tens of thousands of true gods of void space, making them far stronger than the Huyang Legion. The terrifying display shocked the entire Huyang city. The Huyang guards quickly arrived, but even their eternal true god commander felt fear upon seeing the 139 super-large legion treasures and the countless powerful disciples behind them. Suppressing his fear, he questioned the Heart Shadow sect and asked the reason for their arrival in Huyang City. The appearance of Heart Shadow sect's army caused extreme fear among the Huyang guards. Even their leading commander, an eternal true god, could not suppress his instinctive terror when facing the 139 super-large legion treasures. A massive plant-based legion treasure laughed loudly, releasing terrifying sound waves that swept across the battlefield and sent all the Huyang guards flying away, including the commander himself. He did not care about losing face, as he immediately realized the severity of the situation. The commander understood that the Huyang Legion had absolutely no chance against 139 super-large legion treasures. Such a powerful force dared to openly enter Zhujiang Primal Chaos Prefecture without fearing Marquis Zhu Yang's retaliation. So it was most likely supported by Shi Kingdom. An ordinary faction would never dare invade the territory of Yu Kingdom because the godly kings of Yu Kingdom could destroy them within a day. The Heart Shadow sect had previously been unable to establish itself in the land of origin because all territories had already been divided among divine kingdoms and powerful factions. Therefore, only by acting on behalf of Shi Kingdom could Heart Shadow sect's invasion become a conflict between two nations. Inside the city owner's mansion, the atmosphere became extremely tense. The divine power incarnations of the leaders of the 5 great families gathered together while monitoring the entire city and quickly identified the invading force as Heart Shadow sect. They believed that the enemy had come with malicious intentions and might directly attack the city owner's mansion. Commander Moli Xiao explained Heart Shadow sect's history. It was originally a powerful sect founded by a godly king and was protected by 3 primal chaos realm experts. Its influence spread across 3 primal chaos prefectures, and it possessed numerous treasures left behind by its founder. However, Heart Shadow sect once offended Great Saint Zhuyuan, who personally attacked their headquarters. During that battle, the 3 primal chaos realm experts relied on the sect's great formation to resist him. But one of them was killed while the remaining 2 were forced to flee and hide. From that moment onward, Heart Shadow sect declined and split into different factions. The Lord of Huyang City added that after its decline, Heart Shadow sect was taken under the protection of Marquis Lu Yin of Shi Kingdom. Marquis Lu Yin was one of the strongest primal chaos realm experts in the entire Shi Kingdom. A terrifying existence whose path to power was filled with endless bloodshed, war, and disasters. He was never afraid of powerful enemies, which was why he dared to protect the weakened Heart Shadow sect. Great Saint Zhuyuan, being mild-tempered and unwilling to begin a life-and-death conflict without sufficient reason, did not continue pursuing the matter. After receiving the emergency report, Marquis Zhu Zhang ordered the forces in Huyang City to hold the city owner's mansion. Although the order sounded simple, everyone understood the desperate situation they faced. The city owner's mansion was the core of Huyang City, which itself was an enormous mechanical treasure. Because of its special defensive abilities, even powerful figures like Shui Yun and Yushin Shu had never attempted to break into it. Only by relying on the mansion did they have some confidence in delaying the enemy. Outside of the mansion, they knew they had no possibility of resisting Heart Shadow Sect's army. The 5 great families immediately ordered their most important members to retreat into the city owner's mansion, preparing for an unavoidable battle. However, they only hoped to hold out for some time because the difference in military strength between both sides was simply too great. Outside the city, Heart Shadow Sect's terrifying army advanced. Thousands of large flying boats flew through the sky accompanied by 139 super-large mechanical secret treasures. The overwhelming pressure was so great that none of Huyang City's 10 great legions dared to intercept them. At this moment, the divine power incarnations of the Lord of Huyang City and Commander Moli Xiao appeared before the enemy to negotiate. They were immediately targeted by the gazes of all 139 super-large mechanical secret treasures. Thousands of flying boats, countless eternal true gods, and numerous void space true gods. The invisible pressure was so immense that even the 2 leaders were shocked. The Lord of Huyang City silently admired the terrifying foundation of Heart Shadow Sect. Although the sect had declined, it still possessed thousands of eternal true gods. At its peak, it had tens of thousands of eternal true gods, controlled 3 primal chaos prefectures, and had the legacy and treasures of a godly king. Furthermore, the 2 surviving primal chaos realm experts were still hiding somewhere. And if they became strong enough to no longer fear Great Saint Zhuyuan, Heart Shadow Sect could potentially rise again. The Lord of Huyang City formally addressed the invading force. A 3-eyed man emerged from one of the flying boats and introduced himself as Feng Yuqi, the sect leader of Heart Shadow Sect. He politely greeted the Lord of Huyang City and Commander Moli Xiao. When questioned about Heart Shadow Sect's purpose for entering Huyang City with such a massive army, Feng Yuqi pretended to be helpless. He claimed that after the sect's decline, they had searched everywhere but could not find a suitable location to rebuild their foundation. Therefore, they had come to Huyang City only to temporarily settle there. However, while Feng Yuqi spoke humbly, the 139 super-large mechanical secret treasures remained looming above the Lord of Huyang City and Moli Xiao, making his explanation impossible to believe. The Lord of Huyang City requested that Heart Shadow Sect control its disciples and avoid causing trouble within Huyang City. Feng Yuqi smiled and replied that he would do his best to restrain his disciples. He then ended the conversation, saying that Heart Shadow Sect had too many disciples and he needed to arrange their settlement personally. After speaking, he returned to his flying boat, leaving the Lord of Huyang City and Moli Xiao fully aware that a major conflict was about to begin.